Hey everyone, welcome back to SRC Names. We are finally at part 20 of my 20-part names series where I go through my entire list in reverse alphabetical order, and I have over 200 girls' names that start with A on this list, so I'm really excited to share them with you. But first I want to show you all the new boys' names that I have added, and also one of the girls' names. So they are, starting with the boys' names, Ari and Aslan. I added from Amaryllis's suggestions. And then we have Thatcher Cabot, which I really like, Orson, and Harlan from Raquel's list. And I just recently saw the name Kane for a boy and like it. And then the one girl name that I'm going to show you for now is Galadriel, which apparently there are people other than the Lord of the Rings character who has this name, and so I added it. And then the other girl's name I'm going to reveal in the middle of my A girls list because it starts with A. So here we go. For the first part of this list, we have Alaya, Amira, Arilyn, which has a really nice sound to it, I think. And then we have Oss, Abby. Two spellings of that. I would probably prefer the latter of the two. As a nickname, of course, to Abigail, which is next. And then we have Abilene, Abriella, which has a nice sound to it. Great alternative to Gabriella, I think. Then we have Acadia, Aislinn, Ada, Adaya, Adalia, Adeline. I guess Adalia could also be pronounced Adalia. Then we have Adelis, Adeline. Two spellings of that. And these are actually pretty cool alternatives, not that I think about it, to Adelaide. Then we have Addie, Addis, which I sort of made up as a nickname to Addison. But then I actually saw the listing for Addis somewhere, and so I added it to my list. And then we have Addie, sort of the more common Addison nickname spelling. Then we have Addison with a Y, and then Adelaide. I am still really liking this name. Adele, again, there are people other than the singer with this name, so I added it. And then we have Adeline with an E. Same for Adeline. I say this as Adeline, but it could also be Adeline or even Adeline. Then we have Addie, another interesting spelling of that name. And then we have Adina, which I like. And then Adithi. Adley as a nice alternative to Hadley. Then Adnan. Adoris, which I like. And then Adria or Adria. Then Adriana. Two spellings of that. The more I see it, the more I love it. Then we have Adrian, which the first of those two spellings, I guess, could also be Adrienne. Then we have an interesting spelling of Erica. And then Agatha. Agatha is one of those names that grew on me the more I saw it. Then we have what I think is Heidi, but I guess could also be 80, perhaps. Then we have Aiden for a girl. I'm not the biggest fan of boy names for girls, but the more, shall we say, feminized the spelling is, the more I like it. So in this case, I like Aiden for a girl. And then we have Ailey as a nice alternative to Haley or Kaylee. I love the sound of this name. And then Aileen, Ailey with a Y. And then I wasn't the biggest fan of this Amy spelling when I first came across it, but the more I see it, the more I like it. Ainsley is another one of those names that had to grow on me. But I do like it now. Then two interesting spellings of era. And then we have Aisha, Aislinn, two spellings of that, and then Aitana, which has a nice sound to it, Ayana, Aquila, as in Aquila and the bee. I've never seen an Aquila other than this character, but I do love the name. Then we have Akira, or Akira, then Elena. Now this spelling I tend to say as Elena, but I've heard it more and more as Alana, but I guess it could also be Alana. And then we have Alandra, or Alandra. And this spelling I say as Alana, but it could also be Alana. Then we have Alora, which has a nice sound to it. Then Alea. Elena, this spelling I say as that. And then Alcy, or Alcy. Then Alcina, Aldina, Aaliyah, two spellings of that. I tend to like spellings that don't have an H at the end, but this one in particular does look pretty with the H. Then we have Alina, then Alexandra with a KS, Alina with one E, and then Alessa, a nice alternative to Alyssa, and then Alessandra, which is the Italian variant of Alexandra, I would imagine. Then we have, I would tend to say this as Alessia, but I know that it is commonly pronounced Alicia. I tend to really like it with the Alessia pronunciation. Then we have Alethea, and then Alethra. Alex for a girl. I have a friend who is an Alex and a girl, and that's sort of what added Alex as a girl to my list. Also, it can be an interesting nickname for names like Alexandra, Alexandria, Alexia, and Alexis. You may have noticed that I don't have Alexa on this list. I love the name, but I am really associating it with the Amazon product. Then we have Alia, or Alia. I guess it could be also Alia. Then Aliana, Alice, one of my absolute favorite A girl names. Then creative spelling of Allison. Then we have Alina. I guess this one could also be Alice, but it could also be Elise. Both alternate spellings to those respective names. And then we have, I would tend to say this as either Al or Ollie, perhaps. Then we have Allegan. Allegan has a really nice sound to it, I think. Then Allegra, which I associated with the allergy medicine until only recently when I started seeing it more. Then we have Allie, Alliette, which is pretty. Then Allison, the common spelling of this name. And then my favorite spelling of Allie. Again, Alan for a girl, but with a more feminized spelling, so that's what sort of inspired me to add it to my list. And then we have Allison with Y, Alma, Alva or Alva, and then Allie with one L. I love that. Alice with a Y, Alan with a Y, Alina with a Y, and then Alice with an incredibly creative spelling, and same for Allison. I'm not the biggest fan of Alison because it looks a little bit incomplete to me. Then we have Amma or Amma, and then Amalia, Amanda, Amara or Amara, and then Amaryllis, Amarin, which I like, and then Amber, Amarin, now that I think about it, could be a nice alternative to Cameron for a girl. Amber's one of those names that I really like, and so I have a few Amber variants like Amberly and Amberlyn, which I like as well. Then we have Amelia, then Amy with an I, Amy with an IE, and then Emil, Amina, which I guess Emil could also be pronounced as Amiel or something like that, or Emil. I'm not exactly sure what the pronunciation is of this name, so if you happen to know, feel free to leave your pronunciation of this name in the comments. Then we have Amindra, or Amindra, and then Amir, Amira, which I guess could also be Amira, just like we saw with the double A spelling, which the person I knew with the double A spelling pronounced her name as Amira. Then we have Amity, which has a really nice sound to it. And then Amy, the common spelling, which is my favorite. And then Amy Beth, which I really like. And then we have Anna, which could also be Anna, but I tend to say Anna, especially with this spelling. And then we have Analia, Anastasia, which has a really nice sound to it, and I've seen it more and more in Nameberry. Then we have Anda, Andalin, Andalina, Andra or Andra, Andrea or Andrea. The more I see this name, the more I don't really have a preference for those two pronunciations. I tend to go back and forth with them, but at least for now, I don't really have a preference. Then we have Anira, Angela, Angelica, Angelique, and then Annie, more streamlined spelling of that name, which I guess could also be Ani, perhaps. Then we have Anya, Anais, Aniela, and then Annika, Anita, Anka, which has a nice sound to it. I like it. And then we have the ever so timeless Anna or Anna. I tend to say Anna, but actually the first person I met with this name was an Anna, so sometimes I go back and forth with the pronunciation, but I tend to say Anna upon first glance. Then we have Annabella, Annabelle, Annabeth, and Annalie. Two different spellings of that. Now with Annalise, I tend to say Annalise upon first instinct, but sometimes I do say it as Annalise. And then we have Annalyn, Anna Rosa, which has a really pretty sound to it. And then again, ever so timeless, Anne. And then Annika, another interesting spelling for this name. Then we have Annika, I've heard as a pronunciation for this, or Annika, something like that. Then we have Annalise. Now with the N-E, I tend to say it as Annalise rather than Annalise. And then we have Annelle, Annette, or Annette. Then we have Annie, another really interesting spelling of this name. Then Annis, Anik, or Anik, or perhaps even Anik. Then we have Annie, the more common spelling. Then Annika, another spelling of Annie, which I like. And then we have Ansley, which I guess could also be another form of Ainsley. And then we have Aphrodite, which has a really nice sound to it. Then April, Aquaria, Aquina, and then Ara or Era, Arabella, Araceli, Aracellus, Both of those names are really pretty to me. And then Araminta, which I recently added. I just absolutely love this name. Then Aravis, I like a lot as well. Then we have Arcadia, which, like Acadia, I really like. Then Aria, Ariadne, Ariana, or Ariana, or even Ariana. Then we have another interesting spelling of Erica, and then Ariel, Ariella or Ariella, then Ariel, Arietta, Eris, which I really like, and then Arisena, Arlette, which I came across recently for the first time in a while, and then Arsha. This is the name that I added to my list a couple days ago. Then we have Asha, Ashanti, Ashleen, which has a really nice sound to it. Then 4 different spellings of Ashley. I still prefer the more common spelling, but I do like these other ones too. And then 2 spellings of Ashlyn, and then Ashton, 2 spellings of that. And then I moved Asmara from the boys list to the girls list because I think I must have accidentally put Asmara as a boy's name rather than a girl's name. And then we have Asteria, Aster, then Astrid, which has a really nice sound to it. Aster, by the way, could be an interesting alternative to Esther. But I guess it could also be pronounced as Asder, perhaps. Then we have Azia, Atara, which I really like, and then Tatiana, which I think is pretty, and then we have Atia, Athena, Atli, 2 spellings of that. Those are recently added names. Then we have Aubrey, Aubriella, Aubrielle, Auden, and then Audra, Audrey, Aurelia, which is a really pretty name. I've been seeing it a lot on Nameberry recently. And then Ava. I really like Ava, and so I have all these Ava variants. Avalon, Evelyn, Evelina, which I guess could also be Avelina, and Aveline, which could be Avalyn, now that I think about it as well, but I tend to say it as Aveline or Aveline. Then we have Avon, Avera, and then Avery with an I, and then Avery with a Y, the more common spelling, and I tend to think of this as a more of a girl's name, so I like this a little bit more than Avery on a boy, even though it is the original gender of Avery. Then we have Avi, then Aviard, Aviana, 2 spellings of that, and then Avis, Aviva, Avonlea, which I really like the sound of, and then Avi, and then Aya, Ayana, 2 spellings of that, and then Ayani. Then this could be Adria or Idria, I think. Perhaps was what I was about to say. Then we have Aisha. That's the first spelling of Aisha I saw. Then Isla or Ayla. I would probably say Ayla upon first glance. Aylin, Aisha, and Azaria. Those are my girls' names. And I've done the calculations. I have 715 boys' names and 1,464 girls' names, making a grand total now of 2,179 names in my list, which I think is just amazing that I have done that over the past 2.5 years, and I will continue to for quite a long time, I hope. And so I have 2 questions for you as I did the last time. What are your favorites of the A names on my list? And then what are your favorite A girl names? I'm always looking to add names to my list, and so I'd love to hear your comments about your favorite A girl names as well. And with that, look for some more content on this channel whenever I get around to it. And thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed.